What's up, Infected, and welcome to the Quarantine. Today I'm going to bring you a Kickstarter game by the name of Huh. Now what you see here is the French version of the game, but I'll have a Kickstarter link right up here that'll take you to the Kickstarter page from Eagle Griffin Games, and they are bringing the game over to English. Now, Huh plays 3 to 17 players, is recommended ages 10 plus, and it plays in about 30 minutes, all of which I would say is accurate. And as I just mentioned, you can follow the Kickstarter link right up there, and it'll take you directly to their Kickstarter page, and it'll provide way more information than I could possibly cover in a simple video. So what is Huh? Well, simply put, Huh is an interesting combination between Dixit meets like charades and Trivial Pursuit, kind of in a way, and it's based all around movies and actors and actresses. So the way it works is everybody's going to get a card, and that card's going to have a series of movies, actors, and like a generic like action movies kind of thing. And your goal is to give one or more clues, whether it be singing and dancing, whether it's a monologue, whether it's however you want, to give a series of clues or just a single clue to the movie and or actor and actresses to where one person at least guesses it, but you don't want everybody to guess it, similar to Dixit. And as long as one person guesses it, the lower amount of people that guess it correctly, the more points that you and the other person who guesses it correctly get. So you want to be just vague enough, but just specific enough to where not everybody gets it. And that's really the best way I can describe Huh. So let's just go straight over the overview, shall we? Alright, as usual, before I get started, I do have to state that this is a review. It is not a tutorial, so I'm not going to be covering most of the rules in this game. The other thing being, this is of course a Kickstarter prototype, so everything you see here is subject to change. And then the last thing I'm going to kind of tack onto this is the cards do have English and French on them. I'm not sure if that will change in the final production copy of the game, but just know that it may. But again, it is Kickstarter prototype copy of the game, so all of this is, of course, subject to change. So the ultimate goal of Huh is to be the first one to 12 points or 15 points if you want a longer game, or let's face it, you could just choose whatever score method you want. So you're going to go ahead and choose one of these cards that goes up to the number of players that you're playing. And then you're going to give everybody a single card, and your card will have two movies on it, and it'll have a personality, and then if you can't think of anything, you just have a general theme here. So your goal, the timer is going to go around the table, you're going to flip this over, you're going to give your clue, and then depending on how many players you're playing with, so let's say we're playing with 8, you're going to give your clue. Everybody has so much time to write down their answer on this. Once this runs out, or everybody says, okay, they're good, then you're going to reveal your answer. So maybe my clue here was Inglourious Bastards. Maybe I go with Buongiorno, and that's all my clue is. Then maybe Independence Day, I just go, enough of the fat lady, you're obsessed with the fat lady. Or Gladiator, a father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Or maybe The Fifth Element, you go super obvious, like Lilo Dallas Multipass, or, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, it's a game, it goes on, and you're allowed to say, sing, act out, pretty much anything. You could go into a full monologue, you can recite a whole scene, you can start whistling. For example, Kill Bill, last night somebody just started whistling the essentially, and that's how the game plays. So once everybody's good, you're going to reveal what the answer was. So Nightmare on Elm Street was maybe the answer. And if you're going to look at your card, if 2 people guessed it correctly and you're playing with 8 to 9 players, then everybody, including you, gets 2 points. And that's all there is to the game. The game goes on until somebody reaches 12 or whatever scoring you guys agree on to begin with. And that's the game. So let's go to my final thought, shall we? All right, Huh. Well, I'm gonna start off by saying normally I hate trivia games, like Trivial Pursuit, terrible game. I hate any game that the guy who just has endless vaults of just useless knowledge usually winds up winning, and I kind of hate games like that. But with this one, it's not so bad, because the fact that we'll take this one right here. You got Pirates of the Caribbean, Lost in Translation, and then you have David Bowie as your personality. And then if you can't think of anything, then you can use the bottom and just adventure. So, okay, let me think of an adventure movie. So, all right, I don't know, Indiana Jones, the new terrible one, the Crystal Skulls, and that's the one you write down, and that's going to be your answer, and then everybody else guesses it. So you don't have to have huge vaults of knowledge, but of course it helps if you watch a lot of movies, which honestly is the biggest downfall of the game. So my daughter really wanted to play this with us, but obviously she's not gonna know a lot of the movies that me and my dad, my wife, and my brother have all played. My brother's girlfriend and anybody else that's around my age that is gonna she hasn't seen that many movies. So it's recommended for ages 10 plus, but I would say you're going to be very hard pressed to play this with younger people. With that said, if a group of kids the same age want to play, and then like you and your friends want to play, that's totally cool, because as long as you're in the same knowledge group, it's a lot of fun. But if there's a huge switch or a huge gap between the knowledge base of movies between people, like a buddy of mine was sheltered growing up, has seen very little movies, and he's my age. We just kind of can't play with him, because when he gets a card, he either doesn't know what any of the movies are, or maybe he hasn't seen it enough to be able to give a hint with it, or whatever, or he can't guess anybody else's. So that's a big problem with the game. With that said, though, the game is, if you're playing with the right group of people, the game is marvelous. I've had a blast with this game. So we were playing, first game we ever played of this. I took it over to a friend of mine's house. We played 7 players, I think. And me and another guy hit 12 at the exact same time. We both had gotten the final 2 points, and we were on the roll. So we were like, well, I guess we'll just keep playing until somebody pulls ahead. Once somebody pulls ahead, then it'll be game over. We wound up playing to like 36 points because me and him were just equal. We were wearing our nerd badges with pride, and it was a lot of fun. The game is a blast if you're playing with the right group of people that all share roughly the same knowledge base of movies. Like if you're playing with your family that maybe you grew up with, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, all that, then it's fantastic, because chances are you've seen, for the most part, probably similar movies or the same movies, like my household. So it's a blast if you're playing it with that. But if you're not, and you're playing with people with wide tastes and range and everything of knowledge and movies, it's not that great of a game. But overall, I highly recommend it. Like I said, if you are playing with the right group of people, I highly, highly recommend this game. One other minor downfall from the game is the cards. A lot of the time, especially if you play this quite a bit, like I've probably played this 7 or 8 times, maybe a little less, 6 or 7 times maybe. But you start getting, of course, you start seeing the same cards over and over again. And granted, themed film adventure, you can just kind of figure another one out, but I don't know, it still seems you're like, well, crap, now I gotta on the fly, what's a good action movie that I want to throw out there, and yada yada yada. So I mean, it does allow a lot of replayability, but I don't know, maybe they should release expansions in the future that just have newer movies on it as well, because that's another cool thing about the movie. Maybe you've seen these movies a few times. Not a whole lot. Maybe you've only seen Nightmare on Elm Street like once. So now you got to try to think, okay, what's a good quote from that movie that I remember? Or what's a scene that I can act out and make a fool of myself? And also, great game when you're drinking. I should probably point that out too. But, so that's part of the game, is you got this crappy card and you're like, I have no idea. I've never seen Minority Report. I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street once or twice, and I can't think of anything for the Dalai Lama. And so it's a really fun game. Like I said, if you're playing with the right group of people, the game is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Like I mentioned, Kickstarter links up here in the corner. Definitely check out their page. They'll probably have a lot more Kickstarter goals. They'll probably have tons more cards with the final Kickstarter product. whole 9 yards. The game's great. You should go ahead and pick it up if you're into these kind of games, or you like party games, or you like to get drunk and try to figure out what movies you guys are slurring about. Great game. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Pick it up. Highly recommend it. So anyways, that's my review for Huh. If you like my channel, check me out on Patreon up here. Any amount of support would help. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down here in the corner as well. If you like the show, come on back. Give the video a like, comment. I read every comment. In the description, I have my link to my Twitch and my Twitter. So check me out there. I frequently stream video games, and I'll probably start streaming board games again here soon. So anyways, I'll see you guys next time in the quarantine.